Welcome back to the 12 Days of Bookmas. It is day 3, and on the 3rd day of Bookmas, my true love gave to me 3 best friends. I love a good friendship in a story. I love great side characters that are very supportive of the main character and their friendship that way. A good friendship book is a nice break sometimes in between all of the romance and the high fantasy sometimes. So I like a solid friendship book, and I had several to choose from, so it was an easy pick for me. The first one I wanted to mention is First Date by Krista McGee, and I could even mention Starring Me and Right Where I Belong in this as well, because these books interwoven some of the characters and the locations and such, so you get some of the same characters in these books. The first book is about Addie, who goes on like a reality American Idol-esque TV show to win a date to the prom with the president's son. Along the way, she befriends Kara McCormick, who ends up being the perfect friend for her. I absolutely loved their friendship and the support system they had for each other amongst all the other really catty, self-centered girls. But another character I really enjoyed her friendship for Addie was Lexi, and Lexi shows up in First Date, Starring Me, and Right Where I Belong. I loved Lexi so much. She was super funny, she was super supportive. She didn't even get jealous when Addie and Kara started becoming good friends while Addie was away from her, still supportive of her. She's hilarious. She is super funny, snarky, witty. I loved her. And she's even supportive of Kara when she starts to get to know her. And I liked how Lexi seemed like such a real person. Like if I met this character in real life, she would be someone that I would actually have a chance of meeting in real life. She was just such a real, fun person. And I loved Kara and Addie together, so all of those girls in their friendship were just solid, supportive, and trustworthy. It was everything you need in a good friendship, especially when you're doing something stressful like trying out for a new comedy show or having to go on a reality TV show against your wishes. So it's nice to have somebody like Lexi in the background being there as a comedy and a support center. The next friendship I'm going to mention is Isle of the Lost by Melissa de la Cruz. This book has Evie, Mal, Carlos, and Jay, who are the children of Maleficent, the Evil Queen, Cruella de Vil, and Jafar. So the Disney villains have children. And the Disney villains' children know that as villains and doing evil, you don't really have friends. These kids end up kind of bonding together and sticking together and going on this quest together, which each of them has to like face a trial, and they all get through it with flying colors. And they bond that way, and they realize that they may be villains, but they just made a whole group of friends, and they were really grateful to finally have friends for the first time in their lives. And I really enjoyed that development of that, because Mal and Jay started off as kind of like, we tolerate each other, you're more my ally than my friend, and Evie and Carlos were just kind of dragged into it. And then toward the end, they kind of all realized what a cool thing it actually is to have somebody you can call a friend, even if you can't really call them a friend because you're a villain and you can't have friends. They were kind of unspoken friends just to save face, but I really enjoyed watching the development of these lonely, underappreciated kids finally having people who do appreciate them, even if they don't say so. The next books I want to mention are actually a duology. It is the Codename Verity duology, which features Codename Verity and Rose Under Fire by Elizabeth Wine. I don't have Rose Under Fire at the moment. My best friend is actually borrowing at the moment. You know who you are. I know you're watching. Codename Verity is about 2 girls during World War II who join the cause in England. One girl is fluent in French as well as German. I think she was fluent in both. She was fluent in German, and she helped to decode things for the British Air Forces. And the other girl was part of the Women's Auxiliary Pilots that they towed planes from base to base. And they formed this wonderful, supportive, unlikely friendship because they have these personalities that almost clash. But they end up realizing how much they have need of each other for friends. And while they are on a mission that neither of them should have actually been able to be on, their plane gets shot down and they are separated. One has a chance of survival, but one has lost its game before it's begun, is what the blurb said on the back. And it is beautiful. It is heartbreaking. It was so heart-wrenching this ending, but the friendship of it, the love that these girls had for each other, that their friendships, their support, it was a beautiful friendship. In Rose Under Fire, this is yet about another female pilot who is part of that Women's Auxiliary Air Force, who is from the States and is stationed in England, and she ends up being shot down over France as well, but she gets captured and ends up being sent to Ravensbrück, which was the women's concentration camp. And the same as the first one, this one is just as heart-wrenching because Ravensbrück was known for its experiments that it did on women for diseases and injuries during wartime and how to treat those. So a lot of these women at Ravensbrück were actually experimented on, and they were known as the Ravensbrück Rabbits. So this young American pilot gets sent to Ravensbrück, where she meets a couple of these girls known as the Ravensbrück Rabbits and a couple of other prisoners of war, and they kind of form this little hodgepodge of a family, and they support each other, they protect each other, they help each other through all the terrible things that goes on at that concentration camp. The ending wasn't as painful as Codename Verity, but it was still a very heart-wrenching read, and it just felt that much more emotional because it was based on real events and what happened to real people. But the friendships that these women and the support that these women had for each other was just incredible. So that is all for day 3. Thank you everybody for sticking with me, and as always, I'll see you next time. Merry Bookmas!